Hey guys, it's Robert White. Happy Memorial Day weekend. We're celebrating Glassfest yet again here in Corning, New York, my hometown. And today I've got a really cool guest coming to sit on the couch with me and have some coffee and talk about the music industry. This is someone who's extremely cool. You're going to love this interview, so make sure you check it out.
You think you're front page news? Rock and roll. Know that you get your way, but what have you done for me today? Today, fashion girl. Take me away, fashion girl, to another place.
So, alright guys, this is Robert White and we're going to do another Savoir-Faire Man interview, and today it's Glassfest in Corning, New York, and we've got Andy Hilfiger and Ted Utz, the two stars from
Founding
Sway.
members of Sway.
We found it. We did find it.
In Dave's basement.
In Dave's basement.
Who's Dave?
There you go.
So I saw it on the Facebook page that says, "Who's Dave?" So you guys even questioned it and you were there.
Well, we've questioned him from day one.
Okay.
Dave is out in Northern California, but he used to live on my block.
Okay.
And Ted lived around the corner.
Where's your block?
Down
In
there.
Westchester.
Westchester. Okay, sweet.
Mamaroneck, New York.
Okay. Small part of. Is it small?
Yeah, it's only a couple million people.
Couple.
Oh, what?
Yeah, like is it?
Our town?
Is it kind of upstate, but like the city upstate?
Yeah,
the burbs.
it's on the Long Island Sound, which is.
Okay.
We look
Ocean.
across to Long Island. We look across to all the traffic.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we still okay. So go ahead. Who's Dave?
Well, we just explained who Dave was.
Okay, so he was a friend of yours.
He's a friend of ours, but
He was
actually
our friend, and we met
through him, and then Dave moved, but
Yeah.
we're always in touch.
We
with
threw him out of the band. He was really sad and had to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with.
He actually played on a couple rhythm tracks on our Sway EP debut. So
Nice.
we got him in there.
Very cool.
But anyway.
So we're gonna dig back. So in 2011, the band started, right? Was that the right year?
Maybe officially, probably a little
Maybe
before.
officially.
A little
Okay.
before, yeah.
And how did you get the whole thing started? Like got together?
Through Dave.
Just Dave. So
Well-
We used to go to Dave's on Sundays and play acoustics and sit around where most people were watching football.
And Tuesdays and
Okay.
Thursdays and Saturdays.
Oh, well.
What do we have to lose?
a little jam fest together. That it started that way.
We just started jamming in the basement, and different people would come over, and finally we weeded the whole thing out and put a band together.
Cool.
And we've been transferring in and out lead players, and also we've had special guests. Of course, Joe Bouchard, Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper, Richie
Any
Reno from
other bass
Stars,
player they find,
Mhm.
they bring them in, and I gotta
Billy Cristofaro.
They like Billy over there, who's sitting over there.
Yeah, we got a couple guys behind the scenes here too from the band too. So that's cool.
Hey guys.
So let's talk about music. Andy, we'll start with you. What was like your earliest memory of music? When did you pick up the guitar? How did that all happen?
Well, that's funny because
Yeah.
Billy's here in the audience, backstage.
Okay.
We have at least 3 people watching.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm from a family of 9 kids, so we had 5 bedrooms and 9 kids. So in each bedroom, there was different kind of music playing.
Okay.
You know, Tommy would play Traffic and Blind Faith and Hendrix and the Real 60s, and Bobby and Billy were and Tommy in the Stones. So actually, the thread through the whole thing was the Rolling Stones, because even though my sister played Head East and Fleetwood Mac and Boz Scaggs, they'd throw a Stones album in once.
I
in a while.
remember
Okay.
Eddie.
So-
Never been any reason.
So my whole life growing up was started with listening to the Rolling Stones, and my sister Susie had the big hits in High Tide Green Grass record, and it had a picture album in it of pages, and I used to stare at that and listen. And then when I got cut from the basketball, the CYO league,
Okay.
I went home felt bad, but I put that Stones album on and I learned the whole record. Then my earliest band stuff, Billy had a band thing going on in his basement, Billy Cristofaro, and I used to go down there, and he taught me Sympathy for the Devil, and Ricky Venata was our his drummer, but I'd play. And then my brother Billy came back from college and wanted to start a band, so he started Glasshead, and I started Vaudeville. Actually, Tommy put the two bands together, and we were dressed in like rock and roll gear, and Tommy would book us in different clubs and stuff around, and I was only 14, 15.
Wow.
And then Billy went on tour with Glasshead. When they came back, he had enough of Glasshead, so he said, why don't we take Vaudeville and Glasshead and make Fright?
Okay.
So that's when Mike and I joined Billy and Augie and Freddie Fino.
So did you learn guitar from ear off the Rolling Stone album then?
I learned bass off of that stuff.
Okay.
But all through the years, I'd pick up guitars, but Billy was always the lead player, so I always held it down with the bass. So that was my instrument.
Billy would kick him in the shins.
Oh yeah. If I started,
look, get on. Look at these socks.
If I went off
hiding the
key, or not the key, but the core note, and went up to do some jamming.
Yeah.
There's a little bend here. What are you doing? Stay there.
Stop that stuff.
But yeah, I've always been into that. And then what I did with my later in life career, basically, is I mixed music and fashion. So I started out basically a stylist and product placement, and I was dressing musicians in their videos. And Tommy called one day and said, hey, should we sponsor The Who or Townsend? I'm like, yeah. He said, they called us. They want us to do, would you go on tour with them? And
They wanted to check.
Yeah.
No. Pete, I hung out with Pete all the time. He's a great guy.
That's cool.
But we didn't really have clothes for them because the clothing of Tommy was very classic.
Yep.
So what I did is I went to the warehouse, Tommy Warehouse, get jean jackets and jeans and polo shirts.
Oh, I wish I brought mine.
So I embroidered the graphics on those. Pete Townsend, or Tommy Hilfiger presents Pete Townsend. It was one of the first corporate things I did. Besides that, I was doing a lot of videos.
And Snoop Dogg talks about him all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
I heard.
Yeah,
He does.
Yeah,
He
that's
does.
cool.
Well, actually, Mike H., Tommy H., and I were at this party, and we were talking to Snoop. And I said, Tommy, he's like the hottest rapper in L.A. right now. So we invited him to the showroom, and he came up and got a bunch of clothes, the whole Dog Pound show.
The Dog Pound. You go, we're getting free clothes. So they all showed up
yeah,
in
of course.
his office.
That's cool. So Andrew Charles came from that adventure too?
No, eventually I did my own line, and this started
Okay.
out as a rock and roll called Rock Style, based on Tommy's rock and roll book. But
Okay.
with a designer name, my name is Andrew Charles. It's a very designery name, and so we sold it in the stores. But the stores were like, "Well, Andy, you're great, and everybody knows you, but who are you going to use for the spokesperson?" So I did a joint venture or a partnership with Steven Tyler.
Well, Dave was busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had to
The backup. That's awesome.
most people learn to play guitar with Smoke on the Water. We learned with the Stones. I mean, it really comes down to that.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really awesome. So, Ted, what's your background? Give me some.
Well, it's funny. What I
Singing.
said actually is true. I had my first band at 12,
Okay.
and the Stones had just really hit. I guess Satisfaction was 1965, so by 1966, everybody was into the Stones. The Beatles, obviously, were the Beatles, but we used to do all Stone songs down in my basement.
Okay.
Get Off of My Cloud.
Going Off My Cloud was the first song I learned, and we went from there. And then fast forward to about 10 years ago, and I meet Andy through Dave.
Who's Dave?
Yeah.
Dave?
So,
That's the question of the day.
yeah, and I said, dude, you don't know it, but we're going to have a band, and we are going to make this thing go and go and go, and here we are 10 years later, and that's exactly what we did, and we're here today, and it's really that simple, and we have so much fun.
But Ted, give him a 2-second about your radio career.
Well, I was in radio
Oh,
for
I can hear the
35
voice
years.
actually.
Hi.
It's a radio voice, yeah.
Yeah, well, I started by, okay, so we're in upstate New York. I started 95X in Syracuse in 1978 as an independent study project at Syracuse University.
Very cool.
We put it on the air for $35,000. Became the #1 station in Syracuse. It was great. Then we went and did it in Albany and then Providence, Rhode Island, and Dallas, Texas. And I ended up becoming the general manager of WNAW-FM in New York, WMMR in Philly, if you guys remember those great stations. And you know, by 45 years old, my career is over. I go, what the heck do I do now? So you know, we're not home.
That was Dave.
He was like, I saw you on Facebook Live. What's going on over there? Why am I?
Is this Facebook Live?
There is Facebook Live, yeah.
There you
Of
go.
course. Oh, geez. I
People keep
It's all
telling
on
me.
Impressed. Yeah, so I kind of gave up playing for a little while, but I went on the radio and I played music for everybody else. And then when that whole thing was over, with the digital revolution, I figured I gotta put a band together. And then, you know, Andy comes to town, and here we are.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was great.
So you guys met through Dave, or you got friendship before Dave?
We met through Dave.
We met through Dave.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So where do you travel?
Then he replaced Dave in my life, and I replaced Dave in his life. Dave had no place any longer and moved to San Francisco,
Okay.
where he belongs.
It's a good place for people to send them to the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. There's a wall around San Francisco, you know.
I didn't know.
Yeah. It's called the Pelosi Wall.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Political puns.
Up.
So I saw you guys are playing upstate New York today, but there's also New Jersey, Connecticut, the city. There's
Yeah.
is there a Bronx show coming up?
No, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay.
Friday
So
night in Brooklyn, and we have.
are you guys mainly in the northeast of the country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. There's no sleep till Brooklyn. We're staying up the whole week.
You guys are nonstop. I mean, I talked to Ted a week ago, and he was just like, "Yeah, we're going to be here, and then here. Then we have a show this day, and then we'll see you recording
Well,
this
that's
day."
one of the great things about being together for 10 years. You know, we started off doing 3 or 4 gigs a year, and then it's 1 a month, and then it's 2 or 3 a month. And this summer we're really busy and we're having a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Great.
Further travels? You're going to try hit the West Coast or go south?
We're gonna play Dave's Basement again.
Yeah, we should go play
I want
Dave's.
tickets to that show. That
It
sounds like a
depends.
place
I
to
mean,
be.
I've done a few shows over the last few years in LA with some other projects.
Okay.
But you know, it's really great playing upstate, and the upstate is different from us because we're usually in the city and in Westchester and downstate. So this is fun. It's my hometown, my
Yeah.
wife is from Corning. I'm from Elmira.
Cool.